On a new Sprint Ride Option podcast, the 49ers get decimated once again, this time on national television. The season's on life support. Jason and I, we might tell you why you shouldn't worry about that. We're probably going to tell you why you should worry about that. New Sprint Ride Option podcast starts now.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Ride Option podcast. We are live. It's a new episode of the Sprint Ride Option podcast. I'm Andrew Pasquini, joined as always by Jason Aponte. We got a lot to get to. A lot came out of the Niners-Bills game. So, Jason, let's make this quick. How was your Thanksgiving? How was your holiday week? And you eat a lot of food?
I didn't actually, but I was fine. I relaxed and everything. I watched Charlie Brown's Thanksgiving in honor of Averly. But yeah, I didn't. I was just chilling out by myself in the crib.
Very chill Thanksgiving for me too. Not very good football. Matt Eberflus saved that a little bit with his performance. And hey, we get to talk about the Bears next week a little bit, Jason. But today we're here. 49ers Bills, Sunday Night Football last night. If it's one you missed, I'm jealous of you. It was not fun. It started out very not fun because the NBC broadcast, they start in the booth. Mike Tirico says, hey, it's cold, but there's going to be no snow into the second half. We're going to be good to go. And they come back from the very next commercial, and it's already snowing. And from there, it probably should have felt like a bad omen. Unfortunately, the game started. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And the Bills beat the 49ers 35-10 last night. Niners dropped to 5-7 on the season. I believe they're now 2 games out of the NFC West. NFL.com puts them at a 9% chance to make the playoffs. Listen, I don't want to say the season's over because I'm not a big believer in saying that until mathematically says it's over. But Jason, vibes tell me it's over. Everything around it tells me it's over. Season for sure on life support. Jason, what are your instant thoughts before we really dive into the autopsy?
Again, I didn't ask for anything. I didn't ask for a win in this game. I asked for competent football. I asked for a team that to play with urgency. I asked for a team to try to put 4 quarters together. And even with 4 quarters, I expected the 49ers to lose this game to the Bills. The season's been over since Seattle. It has.
Yeah.
Every single week, this team goes to the podium. They go and they say, well, we feel the urgency and we're angry. No, you're not. You're just posturing. And that's fine. Say what you want to say and say the things that, you think people want to hear. But, yeah, the season's over. And this team just, there's no semblance of a corner to be turned. And that's it. And this game was a microcosm of it. Look, we can add the context of the weather. We can add the context of no Nick Bosa, no Trent Williams, no Dre Greenlaw, no Diamador Lenore. All that stuff matters. It's a part of the equation, but it's not the main reason. And I'm fine. Wow, Jerry Jeudy's going crazy already on his first catch. Sorry, because I love revenge games. But it just, I didn't expect the 49ers to win. I was asking for something that seems like it's so far away, which is, can you just play competent football for 60 minutes? And that seems like an impossible task. Like, don't worry about winning the game. You just can't even execute. The turnovers thing, the 49ers are 20th in turnovers, 27th in turnover margin. Like, I don't know, man. If I sound defeated, if I sound dead, it's not that I'm defeated. It's just I've accepted it. And I have accepted it. The Seattle game was when I knew, I'm like, okay, this team is absolutely 100% cooked.
Yeah.
And they are. And again, this is week 13. There are 12 games. All 12 games have mirrored themselves in the worst ways, even in wins. So, yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm at a point where I just want to see good football. I want to see sparks of a team that can put it together. I want to see sparks of a team that still knows how to put 60 minutes together, that knows how to execute. And that apparently is too hard to ask, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think that's the best place to start because it was a the word I use, NinerNation.com, probably too much, was miserable. Last night it was miserable. The weather didn't help. Here's my thing, Jason, is we could talk about the injuries, the weather, Buffalo being good. And to me, with the way the Niners played last night compared to how the Bills just looked, and I know the snow changes a lot. If you put that game in Las Vegas, or I guess to make an even closer connection, if you put that game in Arizona, Jason, I don't think it's much different. I don't think if you put all the healthy Niners on the Niners, maybe the score is closer, but the Bills win that game every time.
Yes.
And it's just, I don't know. I was pretty low on this game most of the week going into it. And then yesterday, I think seeing the Seahawks look pretty vulnerable to a bad Jets team and seeing the Cardinals lose to a Vikings team that they probably should have. I was like, well, maybe the Niners surprise me tonight. And there's a little, and it just, and I think the thing that made it more miserable, Jason, is I'm not saying the team as a whole looked good to start. But we got our first real, and maybe the biggest tragedy of last night, in my opinion, outside of the Niners season ending, is we got our first instance of 2023 Christian McCaffrey in a very short burst. In a very short burst, right? It's third
that
carry
is still 2024 49ers, by the way.
Yeah. Is it not? Is it not because on his third carry of the game, he gets his longest run of the season, 19 yards. The next drive, it's a 12-yard reception, a 12-yard run, and then innocuously enough, an 18-yard run where Taylor Rapp makes a hell of a, that's just a football play. Man, you see that football play so many times where the final defender slaps the foot and it just ends a touchdown play. And maybe the only silver lining I had in the game yesterday was that it was a knee, and I know it doesn't change much because it's a season-ending knee injury for Christian McCaffrey. But Jason, I think a lot of Niners Twitter had the same thought when McCaffrey gets that carry and instantly falls to the ground like he did. The Achilles went out. So slight silver lining there that it's only the PCL and it's a 6-week injury. And I'm sure if the Niners were in playoff contention, to be a thing where it's like, hey, he's sitting, but playoff time, he'll be good to go. But I'm not saying that even if Christian McCaffrey stayed healthy and continued his game as is, the Niners would win this game. But it's just so telling for the 2024 season that we finally got to see Christian McCaffrey look right. And it's just the most simple of plays that a defender tips his foot and he just hits his knee wrong on the frozen ground. And just like that, it's done. And I, to me, I think that's just the saddest part of this game because I think there's a lot of parts after the Juszczyk fumble. And I'm sure we're going to talk about the Juszczyk fumble because Jason, I'm on your side. Twitter was yelling at you. I'm on your side on the Juszczyk fumble, but I know Tirico and Collinsworth mentioned the Juszczyk fumble. That's just the play of the 2024 season. No, it was the McCaffrey play because we felt good as the game was going. The more McCaffrey was going. And then all of a sudden it was gone. And it's just, that's kind of what it is. It's like Ayuk, he had the rough start, but then he had a couple good games and all of a sudden it's gone. And I guess you could say that's what the 2024 season was, is yes, I know a lot of what happened entering the season, the vibes were low, but they were still the San Francisco 49ers going into the season that were coming off of a Super Bowl appearance. So Super Bowl was the idea and it's just gone. It's just gone like that. It's not even a playoff. And the reason this game to me was the end of whatever hope I should have had, right? Because you said the Seattle game was when the season ended. I wanted to pretend that the San Francisco 49ers, even though they probably weren't going to make the playoffs, and even if they did make the playoffs, they wouldn't be a Super Bowl team, would turn it around against a Super Bowl caliber team and look hey, okay, maybe they didn't beat the Bills, but that's a team I could believe makes the playoffs. if the Niners make the playoffs, the first thought is going to be Super Bowl. This is just how far the 49ers are from a Super Bowl at this moment. 35-10. Not even close. And that's the thing. And that's why it's dead to me. And the season's dead to me is even if they make the playoffs, what's the point? What's the point? Because that's just asking for who's going to be the 2 seed? The Lions or the Eagles? That's just asking for a first round massacre in Philadelphia or in Detroit. So yeah, man, like I think last night I had that little inkling of hope that hey, maybe the things turn around. But even if the Niners finish the season 5-0, find their way into the playoffs, what does that really change? This team's not going to go anywhere. So the Christian McCaffrey thing was the saddest thing to me, but as a whole, everything is just sad.
Well, I guess the good news is you don't have to worry about them running the table because it's not going to happen. No, so that's fine. No. We can just throw that out. No matter how much the 49ers continue to tell you that, it's not going to happen. And I'd love to be wrong. I'd love for somebody to clip this and say, haha, freezing cold takes, whatever. No. And then, what's even more to your point about Christian McCaffrey finally looking like himself is Deebo Samuel literally comes out of the half on a kickoff return and jump starts the offense, and you get that Juszczyk play, and that's I think it's the sequence of those plays because that almost mirrors exactly what happened in the Packers game. Is Deebo makes a big play, you get down there and you get nothing, and it just felt like after that there was no shot. But it's really funny about after the missed field goal, the next play was a long touchdown run for James Cook. It is what it is. I hate the sound like I don't care. I hate the sound like it doesn't bother me because I think that's probably the furthest from the truth. Yeah. But I've been really real about this season because you just have been showing me who you are, and you're not, again, I've talked about this and I said this in an instant reaction. We've all had relationships, whether it's family, friends, significant others, where they won't change. They're not changing what they are, but they'll tell you, I'm sorry that I did that. I'm going to change what I'm doing. I'm trying to work on myself, but you don't see anything. And it's indicative of who they are. And that's who this team is. And that's it, man. There's nothing more that needs to be said when it comes to that. And for me, you get a Deebo Samuel play where it jumpstarts the offense. You start to get there. Even the beginning of this game. This is the funniest part. Even the beginning of this game. Let's take it all the way back to the beginning. Yeah. The 49ers force a 3-and-out.
Start the game.
Quick, right? And you start to think, okay. You move the ball. You get into the red zone. Now all of a sudden you have a negative play. You're behind the sticks. What do you settle for? A field goal. That's who the 2024 49ers are. Okay. You get to third down. You get a chance to do it again. 3-and-out. Illegal contact. You let the drive continue. Touchdown. And that is your 2024 49ers.
Yeah.
Whenever you need a play, whenever you need something, whenever you need it, whenever there's some momentum building, you will find a way to kill that momentum. And unfortunately, I don't want to have this conversation with 49ers fans because I don't want to come off negative. I'm just trying to tell you what it's. And I shouldn't have to tell you. You guys are watching the same games I am. It's not they're a play away here and there. They're 5 plays away. And when you couple all 5 of those plays away, it's what's putting you in this position. And that's the hard part. And I feel for Christian McCaffrey because you're absolutely right, Andrew. He literally looked like that guy from that. And if someone doesn't touch his foot, that's a house call. And what does it look like now for the 49ers? And that's exactly what Kyle Shanahan said. That's a house call. And it was. But that's just the way it is. A day late, a dollar short, always behind, can't make a play. They make plays, you don't. And that's what happens. You save a touchdown. Unfortunately, that's how it goes. But it's just, this team is who they are. And I don't want injuries to be used as like the main reason. We need to get to a part where the formula of this team, injuries, execution, coaching, discipline, all of those things are going into what's going on in this season. Effort, tackling, all of those things go together. And it's all one big mixture of what has gotten you to the season. There's no one thing you can point to. And I don't know if that makes you feel better or if it makes you feel worse, because there is no one thing that you can point to and just say, this is the reason. All of those things coupled together is how the 49ers got to this spot.
Jason, I want to touch on your point about the missed field goal touchdown play really quick, but I want to answer this from Jumaro because you also mentioned the injuries. And Jumaro here, great point. I agree. I'm not using the injuries for an excuse this year. It's still talent enough on the field. My only counterpoint to that, again, injuries not an excuse, but let's just look at last night and the 49ers injuries, okay? And I mentioned this on NinersNation.com in an article coming out tomorrow. Go through every position group in the 49ers, Jason Aponte. Brock Purdy, shoulder, obviously didn't look right. Maybe it was the snow, but Purdy's dealing with a shoulder thing, right? Christian McCaffrey, knee thing, calf, all that injury. He's out last night. Mason ends up hurting himself. He's done for the season. So there's quarterback, running back, receiver. Brandon Ayuk's already out. Offensive line, it's Trent Williams, it's Aaron Banks gone, and Ben Barch and Jalen Moore did a fantastic job last night. Give them all credit, but Trent Williams being gone is huge. You go to the defensive side of the ball. Nick Bosa, Jordan Elliott, Javon Hargrave, Fred Warner's playing with a fractured ankle. Dre Greenlaw is coming back from injury. He hasn't been there all year. The secondary, Diamador Lenore is out. You just got Mooney Ward back. I know that's not an injury, something completely different. You just get Mooney Ward back last night. Talanoa Hufanga has been out. That is every position group on the 49ers that I just listed. It's not like, and again, I'm not trying to pretend like the Lions aren't going through injuries, obviously Aiden Hutchinson, but it's not like I'm picking the third name in the receiver group. That's the guy the Niners missing. So like they said, no, it's a big contributor in every position group the Niners are missing. And I know it comes off as an excuse, injuries, but just the sheer, not even the amount of injuries, but where the injuries are at for the 49ers, not an excuse, but you can't ignore it. And that's my issue. Not saying the injuries aren't an excuse because a lot of teams are hurt. It's just literally the only position group not affected by injury last night was tight end. And you could even loop those in with receivers, and then you go with Ayuk's out. So like, that's my thing about the injuries is there's just so many, and it's just so hard to overcome, but it's not an excuse. You're absolutely right. Like, so that, but then also I wanted to mention your point about the missed field goal into the one play touchdown. You zoom out of that first half, and that's all the first half was just one long bad sequence, because it is the missed field. I mean, it even starts with Buffalo's touchdown scoring drive. They convert 4 third down conversions on that drive to go score, make it 7-3. Then you have the McCaffrey play leading into the missed field goal. Buffalo responds with the one play touchdown. McCaffrey goes down with an injury on the very next drive. POD, Pat O'Donnell, gives you a hell of a punt to pin the Bills inside
my franchise punter.
Yeah, exactly. Or a franchise punter on this podcast to nail the Bills at their own 3-yard line, down 14-3. It's like, okay, maybe something. And then they just walk down the field, 97-yard drive. Then Niners get the ball back. I don't want to yell about Kyle Shanahan in this game because there's nothing he could do. Nothing Kyle Shanahan could do in this game to change this game's outcome. But boy, oh boy, settling for a 55-yard field goal in the snow, hell of a choice. Niners get the ball back. Deebo Samuel has the return. Juszczyk fumble happens, and the game's over from there. So like, it just was all one. It wasn't just the missed field goal into the one play touchdown. Man, that whole first half until Juszczyk fumble was just an entirely bad sequence for the 49ers, and it just would not stop. And then it just got even worse when you consider that Josh Allen had a play where he threw and caught a touchdown. It just kept getting fucking worse as the game went on. And it was almost like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen here? And it just kept happening the entire game. So yeah, man, you mentioned the bad sequence of the touchdown, but like, it just, the whole game was a bad sequence.
And going back to the injuries, of the 53-man roster of the Detroit Lions, they're missing 15, 16 guys that are starters.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can make the argument that the sheer amount of it versus the impact players and the impact injuries may be different, but it's not an excuse for other teams. The whole league is banged up. The whole league is banged up. And the Detroit Lions are fine. They haven't lost a game in 2 months. And a little bit to like what you were saying about Obviously everybody wants me to talk about like, the Juszczyk thing or whatever. We'll get to it or whatever. That's fine. But what you were saying about the third downs, again, I've seen this movie. It's a 12-game movie. Even in the games that you've won, you've had these moments. You've had all these moments. The field goal, right? Like I hate that call. Like I dislike it because it was, and I don't even want to blame Moody.
No.
I don't even want to blame.
This is the one podcast where Moody goes 1 for 3, and we can't really say anything.
I can't even say
what
anything. What am I supposed to say? Like it did. And I mean, Buffalo's kicker missed the kick, right? Like it's just everything that has been going on with this team. And I think it hurts more because it happened on national TV. It was just magnified.
Absolutely.
It was just magnified. But I do want to say this. I dislike some of the things that I heard after the game in the press conferences. And let me start with what George Kittle said. First play of the game, he catches a pass, and he said he ran 6 routes after that. And someone asked, why did that happen? He said, I have no idea. Yeah. They said, is this what you game plan? And he said, oh, hell no. Okay. 1. 2. I want to make sure I say this because I believe him, but I don't like the message. And how is the locker room supposed to take this? But Kyle Shanahan said we're just not good. Yeah. Okay. Well, we know. I mean, even the biggest 49ers homers got to say this team is not good. But what does that say? Are you throwing your team under the bus? Do you have to kind of just stand up and say, and you know what? To his credit, he kind of contradicted that by saying, execution, all that stuff, defensively, all of those things, it boils down from us top down all the way down.
Yeah.
What I guess I'm trying to say is that the message is fractured. You can't in one breath tell me that you're holding yourself accountable by also saying we're not very good right now, which is essentially throwing your team under the bus. And then you have your star player, the one guy who has actually all year been hooping, say, I have no idea why I only ran 6 routes. I have no idea, and it wasn't a part of the game plan. This team is just disjointed, fractured. The message is jumbled. You hear one thing from somebody, you hear one thing from another. I'm actually glad that Kyle kind of said, it starts up here and it starts with us. But it kind of rings hollow with the way that everybody else is kind of talking about things. And this isn't an indictment past, this year. This isn't an indictment of who Kyle was before, because clearly I want to make sure we keep this in a vacuum of the 2024 San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
Okay? The 2024 San Francisco 49ers. This is in a vacuum then. 2025 is something completely different. This whole team is going to be completely overhauled. You've got a whole draft class that's coming in. Things are going to be completely different. Coaching staff, everything going to be different. But this doesn't make sense to me in any way because the message is fractured from the top down.
Yeah.
And I don't want Kyle Shanahan fired. I still think Kyle Shanahan is the coach of this team. Obviously, Adam Schefter came out today and said John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan aren't going anywhere. So I don't know why anybody would bring that up. But there's no way you're going to sit here and not criticize what's been going on this season because it feels like the formula is a little stale. It feels like the formula is just a little bit like, yeah, we've heard it, yeah. But I've got it. That's my criticism. Dusty Gold says, Jason, does this hurt worse than your Yankees loss? At all? No. The Yankees loss is way worse. Have you ever watched your team melt down an entire inning and just give away any chance of coming back in a World Series?
And to make it even worse, Jason, not to make it worse for you, but to have the other team point out that we were just waiting for that meltdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They went to the podium and were like, yeah, we know the scouting reports. They can't play defense. Yeah, that's far worse. And I wanted to save all you guys from watching the Dodgers raise a trophy. So yeah, and I got to take blame for that too. Like, I'm the one who dropped the ball. I didn't do shit.
Speaking of bad defense, Jason, the 49ers defense, not great yesterday, but kind of something semi in defense of the 49ers defense. Can I give you a stat? It's a bad stat for the 49ers. The 49ers bye week was a month ago. The 49ers offense has scored 6 touchdowns, right, in 4 games. The Bills offense has scored 5 touchdowns since their bye week. Unfortunately, the Bills bye week was last week. The Niners bye week was a month ago. I know a lot of people want to get down on the defense because the defense hasn't been great this season, but like when we talked about the bye week, Jason, we said, use the rest, turn it around, right? The Niners have done the opposite of turn it around since the bye week. Entering the bye week, they averaged like 2.4 touchdowns per game. They're down to 1.5 offensive touchdowns per game in the 4 weeks since the bye. The offense just hasn't been doing anything, and I know a lot of people want to yell at the defense, but since the Niners bye, Jason, the 49ers have scored 20. What are these numbers here? 23, 20, 10, and 10. What's the defense supposed to do with that? Right. And it's a team thing. I would love to see the defense play a little better. I'd love to see the offense play better so they kind of meet in the middle here. But again, I don't want to say the Andrew's right, the Sprint Red Option podcast was right, but there's a lot of people out there on Twitter that were saying, hey, this team is a 400 team before the bye week under Kyle Shanahan, and they're an 800 team after the bye week under Shanahan. They will be fine. And my question was like, hey, I don't doubt the Niners will be fine, but like what points to the Niners will be fine? Because you could tell with the 21 team, a lot of team that people referenced in comparison to this year, you could just say, hey, the 21 team, yeah, they started slow, but like that's all it was a slow start, and nothing felt broken. It just things weren't going. Nothing has changed after the bye week. This is still the same team. I'm still waiting for that bump that everybody just magically expected, but it's almost as if they didn't address any of the issues. The pass rush depth is just worse. It's worse than it is after the bye or after the trade deadline. The Niners didn't really address any needs at the trade deadline, and it's almost like they were expecting that, after the bye week, everything's just going to fix itself. And then they've put out the same game 4 times that they put out 8 times previous. And this is where we are. And that's my thing is the Niners, they just haven't adapted to anything this season, man. They just saw what happened in the first 8 games of the season. And you know what? Hot take. You ready for this hot take, Jason? The third quarter against Dallas was the worst possible thing that could have happened to this team. Maybe losing to Dallas would have been a good thing because then you go into the bye week with a loss to Dallas to sit on. But instead, they have that third quarter. They almost choke the third quarter away and almost blow that Dallas game. But because they didn't, they win. And you believe they have some momentum going into the bye week. And yeah, they won after the bye week, but they shit all over that momentum with 3 missed kicks and barely sneaking out of Tampa Bay with the win. And guess what, Jason? Niners haven't won since Tampa Bay. I thought the bye week was supposed to fix it automatically, Jason. It's almost as if football games are played on the field and not hypothetically, and the Niners had a ton of things to fix on the field after the bye, and they just didn't. So it's just all the frustrations are coming to a head at this point because you see that playoff percentage at 30% a couple weeks ago and be like, yeah, man, that first half of the season sucked, but maybe, and now it's just nothing's changing, and we're still here.
I've got a hotter take.
Yeah, let's do it.
You said you believe that John Lynch and this organization didn't address anything in the trade deadline, and that's their fault.
Yes.
I think they looked at this team and said, we're cooked, and there's nothing that can be done. There's no player.
You're not wrong.
There's no player that can save this 49ers team. So let's save our picks because next season we have to lock this thing back in. And they evaluated everything. And there was no player out there, not Zadarius Smith, not Dalvin Tomlinson, not anybody. I mean, unless you were going to trade for Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, then maybe. But there was nothing out there that was going to change this 49ers team. And I will say this. I applaud them. I applaud them for not doing that. I applaud them for not spending. I applaud them for not thinking that they were already arrogant going into the season, thinking that, hey, we can just run it back and we're going to get guys back and this and this and that was arrogant in its own right. But I applaud them for looking at this team and saying, yeah, you know what? We ain't it right now. And this ain't it. And there's nobody out there that's going to help this team. So organizationally, they can say whatever they want about being 1 game out, 2 games out. Yeah, all that's true. Deep down inside, when you look in the mirror, this team looked themselves in the mirror. This organization looked themselves in the mirror and said, you know what? We're going to hold on to every single one of these picks because we're going to need them. And this team is about to have a huge roster turnover. And that's why I applaud them for not bringing in anybody but Khalil Davis.
Well, actually, speaking of Khalil Davis, Jason, I have it in front of me. Can you tell me Khalil Davis's snap count with the San Francisco 49ers?
He didn't even play much. He played this week because he had to, but he hadn't been playing much before that.
5 snaps in week 10, 0 and 11 and 12, 18 last night. So that is 23. The Niners made a trade. The one move at the deadline the Niners made. He's played 23 snaps in 4 games, and that's not Khalil Davis's fault. That nobody's fault. Like I don't think anybody expected Khalil Davis to be an impact player.
Right, Khalil Davis isn't a game changer.
It was a body, but that's just kind of the point of the trade deadline was nothing because they got one player and he's played 23 snaps, 18 out of necessity because the Niners are so hurt. So, been beating around the bush. You want to talk about that Kyle Juszczyk play a little bit? Because we're here. I mean, we've been beating around the bush, and I want to talk about it because people there's this weird thing with Kyle Juszczyk because I understand why Kyle Juszczyk is so important to the 49ers. Jason understands why Kyle Juszczyk is important to the 49ers. One of those reasons he's so important to the 49ers is not carrying the ball. And I know a lot of people like Madden and college football, video games, all that stuff is short yard situation, 4 yards, you give it to you. Do you know how many carries, including last night, Jason Aponte, Kyle Juszczyk has on the season?
Less than 10. No, 2.
One. Last night was his 4th carry. Do you know how many carries Kyle Juszczyk has as a San Francisco 49er?
9.
59 in 8 seasons. Maybe there's a reason for that. And again, I love Kyle Juszczyk. I'm not one of those people like Kyle Juszczyk needs to be off this team. It's just in an offense, and I believe Mason was hurt at this point because if I remember the play
Mason was getting evaluated for a concussion.
Guerendo was behind him. So
Yes.
you have Isaac Guerendo, you have Deebo Samuel, you have George Kittle, who, by the way, Jason, we mentioned 1 reception, 2 targets, didn't get too many targets after the first drive. 6 routes run. And the player that you talk about who's again, I'm not taking away his importance because I don't think the Niners run game and even some of the stuff in their passing game works as well in recent years without Kyle Juszczyk. But Kyle Juszczyk's best ability is without the football. And maybe in a Super Bowl where everything you've put on the table is out there, I'm okay with a Juszczyk run at the 4-yard line because you got to do something to throw a team off. But in a situation where the Niners need literally everything to go perfect, everything needs to go perfect from kickoff last night until the end of the season, you got to trust the players that you consistently put the ball in the hands of. And that's George Kittle. That's Deebo Samuel. I know running back was very, very hurt, but I bet you how many carries does Guerendo have on the season? And I know it's different because he plays running back, but I'd reckon he has more carries on the season at running back than Juszczyk has in his career as a 49er. Does he have more than 59 carries this season? He has 42, so he's not quite there. But like Guerendo's gotten the ball way more this season. He has 2 touchdowns on the season. Why is Kyle Juszczyk again? 21-3 was the score. Game's probably over. This is picking apart a team that's we're picking at the carcass. We're picking exactly the momentum. And you give the ball to a guy for his 4th rush of the season. And I know he doesn't fumble. He doesn't fumble.
Because he doesn't touch the ball. You can't
But
fumble.
guess
if you
what,
never have the
Jason? He
ball.
fumbled in that one situation. He fumbled it when they needed him to score. And that's the issue, is you are trusting Kyle Juszczyk, the guy who has had 4 carries on the season, more than you are trusting Deebo Samuel, the guy you've been working day and night to try and get going the past 5 weeks and to no success. You have George Kittle, you have Garendo. So that's my thing. I understand the idea of a fullback dive, but in a situation, just strip it down, Jason Aponte. You're 5 yards away from the end zone. You need a touchdown. Do not give the ball to a guy who has 3 carries on the season. That's my little spiel on it. Again, I'm not going to say that play changed the game. I think the game was over at that point, but it really ended it with the fumble at the 1 yard line.
Okay. The play call is too fucking cute.
Yes.
If the handoff is to Isaac Garendo and he fumbles, you'll just say it was bad luck. You wouldn't say, why didn't we give the fucking ball to Kyle Juszczyk?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't say that. You would not say that. Now I'm pissed. Now I'm hot. All right, let's go. Because I've been too laid back. Now let's go. The reason he doesn't fumble is because he never touches the ball. The reason he doesn't touch the ball is because he's not a difference maker with the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
Jordan Mason's off to the side. Okay, let's take that back. We all wanted Jordan Mason to have the ball. He's been running the ball 7 yards. Fine. Fucking give the ball to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
If you give that ball to Kyle Juszczyk and he scores and nobody says anything, fine. That's been the point that's been thrown at me. Cool. But if Isaac Garendo goes and he fumbles the football, you wouldn't be saying, why didn't you give the ball to Kyle Juszczyk? Not one single person outside of the Juszczyk household would have that take. Would not. It's impossible. It is impossible. So you need to score. You call that. He fumbles. He doesn't touch the ball ever. And you want me to say, yeah, you know what? It's fine, Kyle. Good play call, man. Fuck off, man. Oh, my God. You think that that's supposed to make me feel better about that play call because the play call was right? It's the person you gave it to.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do. If you try to put the ball in the hands of someone else who's actually touched the ball, who is actually a skill position player, then I have no problem with it. There is no time that you're going to throw the ball to George Kittle. You're going to throw the ball to Deebo. You're going to throw the ball or hand it to Garendo. You are not going to say, why didn't you give the ball to Kyle Juszczyk? That is never going to be a statement out of anyone's mouth, ever, outside of the Juszczyk household. Mm-hmm. No one will be saying that. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I got to give Juszczyk respect because he says, I don't get many opportunities. I can't have that happen. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Like a starving man jumping on a holiday ham. You better make every single opportunity count. So I'm not necessarily on Kyle Juszczyk. I'm more mad at Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan, that's too cute. That's too cute. That's too cute.
Yeah.
That's too cute. You're running the football. These guys can't stop the run. You are running the football. You are doing what you want. They are on skates. You have to get to you. What on earth are we doing? And I don't understand that part. I don't understand it. That is outsmarting yourself. That is being too cute. Look, let's take another team. Let's say 2 teams that actually use fullbacks. Let's do this example. If you are the Ravens and you hand it off to Patrick Ricard and you've got Derrick Henry and Patrick Ricard fumbles, you're going to say, wait a minute. Why didn't you give the ball to Derrick Henry or why didn't you run it in with Lamar? Yep. If you are the Miami Dolphins and you hand it off to Alec Ingold and you've got Devon Achane and you've got Raheem Mostert and you've got all these guys, you'd say, what are you doing, Mike McDaniel? Mm-hmm. I don't understand why this is a hard concept. It is 110% a cute play call. It's cute. And you got too fucking cute, man. Give the ball to your guys, man. And if one of those guys fumbles, then we'll chalk it up to bad luck. But when it's a bad play call tripled on top of that, it's all bad. And I got to give it to both Kyles. I don't want to hear this shit. People are really coming at me like it was the right call. No, the right call is the one that scores the touchdown.
Yeah.
And the way this season's going, this is not the right call.
And I see
again, if Garendo would have fumbled, nobody would have said, yo, why didn't you give it to 44? Nobody would say that. Not one time has anybody said, why did the 49ers get Kyle Juszczyk more involved? Never.
No. And I see people still in the chat saying, well, if he scored, it would have been a touchdown. But unfortunately, he didn't. It was a fumble. Niners lost the ball. If wishes were fishes, the world would be an ocean, man. Like, and that's the point. And Jason, Alec Ingold, maybe not the best example to use. He has 9 carries for 13 yards this season. Patrick Ricard is a golden example because he has no carries this season. Because the Baltimore Ravens realize who they have in that backfield. And I understand.
They have a really good running back.
I understand that they're down Mason, and I saw somebody mention they had Mason was hurt, McCaffrey's hurt. But again, Isaac Garendo was they traded up for Isaac Garendo. So why is he not getting the and that's my thing, man. It's not necessarily Kyle Juszczyk. Jason's right. Fumbles happen. If it was Garendo, that's fine, right? Fumbles happen. But when it happens to a player who is on his 4th carry of the season, that is the definition of overthinking. He could have easily scored a touchdown. Absolutely right. You were correct. It's just don't just give the ball to the guys who have scored the touchdowns before. And again, I don't think Jason and I are blaming Juszczyk necessarily because shit happens on the field. It's just, again, Jason, between you and I know this is the internet, but between you and I, we've been very pro Kyle Shanahan. This is the first time we've really questioned him, and that should be telling. That should be telling. Is that this is the first time we've really been questioning him, and that is an issue because you made a point where you said, you know, hey, like the message is mixed, and maybe that's something where he's maybe here too long, and that's the comparison when I mentioned Doc Rivers with the Clippers, and that's what I want to avoid because I want Kyle Shanahan to be here, ideally for the next forever. Like I just want to die with Kyle Shanahan as the Niners head coach, but if it keeps going this way, and I know a lot of things can change, as Jeb says, anybody else excited for the offseason? This is going to be a very exciting offseason for the 49ers. That's not necessarily a good thing, Jason, because it means good things didn't happen this year. But yeah, in a way, yeah, I am excited for the offseason because I think this is the offseason. We see a real people want to throw there's a difference. People are going to want to say rebuild. What we're going to see from the 49ers isn't a rebuild. It's going to be a turnaround because essentially what they're going to do is they're going to try and take the players that they don't think can help in 2025, and they're going to try and turn those into players that can help in 2025. Axel, it's the same argument with Ronnie Bell in the Rams game. Why are we calling plays for him with the game on the line? Exactly. It's the same point. It's not necessarily Ronnie Bell's fault. In a way it is. He was never a great receiver for the Niners. Right. But, and I understand, because what was that? Was that Debo was out? No, that was Ayuk was hurt. Somebody was hurt. And so the Niners were down, but it's like you still have. Ayuk played.
Debo and Kittle were out.
It was Debo and Kittle. So you still had Ayuk, you still had Jennings, you still had Mason. So why is Ronnie Bell getting an important? And that's the point. So it's just.
Yeah, I feel you, Andrew. I'm gonna say this. Look, I'm not mad at Kyle Juszczyk. It's not that. No. I was mad at the play call. I was mad at the play call. And that's my thing is you're running the football. You've got the momentum. You just literally all you have to do underneath center is turn around and hand the ball to Garendo. And most likely with the way that Ben Barch and the way that Jalen Moore and Pooney was moving that line, you're going to score a touchdown. And I guess you got to look that you wanted, but that should tell you, again, don't mess around when you can hand it to a skill position player. Like, again, we all understand his importance. I'm not really, sometimes I'll be popping it or whatever and go crazy or whatever, but it's not about Juszczyk. I'm more mad at Kyle.
Yeah.
I'm more mad at Coach. Why? You're not outsmarting. You're outsmarting yourself. All you had to do was give that thing to Garendo. We wanted Mason, fine. Mason was with that concussion. Garendo walks that thing in. Like, come on, man. Like, and then don't try to like sell me on it was the right play call. Kyle Juszczyk did. Stop putting him in a position where he has to make the play when he never touches the ball.
Yep.
Like, what if I was a guy that never touched the ball, right? And I'm a wide receiver and I run. You throw me a ball and I drop it. And you're like, what is he doing? Yeah, there's a reason you're not throwing him the ball. It just it was unnecessarily complicated when it should have been very easy. And to push sneak, whatever, something. It was sneaking with Brock Purdy, anything but that.
And I think part of the frustration that plays into it too is this is the second week in a row where it's not necessarily the Niners were going to come back and win, but it was a situation where, God, how do I word this without not making it sound depressing? It was a 2 weeks in a row now. There's been situations where you felt like the Niners could maybe possibly get back into a game, and a turnover killed it. It was the Samuel drop last week. And oh my God. I mean, if you really want to know about just the dysfunction about everything, Jason, maybe go back to the beginning of this game, and maybe not a big deal. How was Brandon Allen QB2 last week, but this week it's Joshua Dobbs? You know, like that stuff is small, but it's
well. Can
weird.
I push back on that a little?
Go ahead. I want to push back because I saw that take a lot yesterday too, and I thought it was weird too. So I would appreciate some pushback on that.
You know the take I'm going to give is like
is it the one that I gave last week?
Well, no, in a snow game, you want to run the football and you have a quarterback that that can probably do that with his legs as well too. So I think that's kind of what it was. I don't think that's necessarily any sort of indictment on like Brandon Allen, and like I think when you look at this game, you realize, and this is why I benched Deebo Samuel for Adam Thielen. Thank God that I'm very smart and I can think of things because it saved my fantasy football season. Shout out to Adam Thielen. Was just they weren't going to throw the ball a ton, and that that doesn't behoove Brandon Allen. If you have Josh Dobbs in there, you can run zone read, you can use his legs, and that's how you're probably going to sustain the offense. So I think that's just specific to the game plan and what was going on the field, in my opinion.
I thought you were going to hit me with that. We're really arguing about backup quarterbacks. We've already lost.
No. I think the 49ers were intent on not throwing the football at all, regardless. And if they had to, they could with Josh Dobbs. But I think they were going to take advantage of what. Remember, Spence was on here and he was talking about, yo, we can't stop the run. He's literally texting me earlier in this game like, I told you, I'm scared. Like, that's kind of where the 49ers were going with that idea. And if they had to pivot to something like that, or if they had some sort of package in mind, like Justin Fields, like in the same snow globe game against the Cleveland Browns, I think it was more that than anything. I don't think that's really an indictment on like what they think about the QB2 position. I think it was just specific. I think it was specific just to the game, in my opinion.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll see. Well, the backup. We'll monitor the Niners' backup quarterback situation on Sunday against the Bears. We'll tell you exactly who QB2 is, and then we'll react from there, Jason. How about that?
Okay,
that sound good to you? Cool. Okay, Jason, let's get to 3 stars. We're about 50 minutes here. We've really dissected this game every which way we can. I don't think it really changes the result. 35-10. 3 stars, huh? Do you have 3? I
do.
You do? Okay. I'll let you start. I'll see what your vibes are, and then I'll start my 3. So you go with your 3rd star.
Yeah, I have to write an article every Monday on NinersNation.com. By the way, if you didn't know, Andrew Pasquini and I write for them. It's called Gold Jackets, where I have to give out an MVP on both sides of the ball and do honorable mention. And I actually did come up with a few. Honestly, offensively, it's not going to be this one, but Evan Anderson is my 3rd star. Evan Anderson's a rookie, man, and he's done an incredible job. He was obviously the best run stopper in this game. He's just going to continue to get more burn. 3 defensive stops, 2 other pressures in this game. Evan Anderson has been a find. In a year where we're looking for defensive line help, Evan Anderson has been very good, and I'm really, really excited for what it could be when the 49ers put more pieces around him. But Evan Anderson is my 3rd star, man. Keep balling, rookie, and keep hooping. I understand that there was the one play where he falls flat on his face because he couldn't get his footing, But
Yeah.
Evan Anderson is my third star, man. He everything that I thought that I saw in the game was backed up on the film. Evan Anderson was somebody that was actually, moving the pocket and being disruptive. So Evan Anderson, rookie, hell yeah, let's go.
My number 3, I'm gonna go Juwan Jennings. Listen, not much to brag about on the offensive side, not much to brag about on the defensive side of the ball. But 3 receptions, 56 yards, tied for the most out of all pass catchers yesterday. Dawson Knox had 2 receptions for 56. Not a pass heavy game, but Juwan Jennings is just such a dog. The Niners had 53 players on the field yesterday. He felt like the only one who looked natural in the snow. You need more players like that. Juwan Jennings just a dog out there receiver. Not the biggest game, but his 3 catches felt all pretty big. I feel like I could picture them all in my head. And in a game where the Niners looked as bad as they did, I got to shout out Juwan Jennings.
Okay. Mine is gonna be, and I'm obviously cheating because I'm gonna say 3 guys. Jalen Moore, Dominic Pooney, and Ben Barch. In this game, you guys, Jalen Moore, for all intents and purposes, has an impossible task, and he's been such a little bright spot these last 2 weeks. And I think that's something that, again, like I sent out a tweet where I said, nice little development. Jalen Moore has been, been very good these last 2 weeks. And, people were like, nice little development. We sucked it. Okay, cool. Make your jokes, but we're just talking about evaluating the players. Jalen Moore has been very good. And I think we all expected it's an impossible task to come in for Trent Williams, but he's been very good. Ben Barch stepped in, and let's just say, I got to take an L here. I was 110% I take the L here. I wanted to see Spencer Burford. Ben Barch was very good. Yes. And I don't know what this means going forward, but it means that Ben Barch is at least in the conversation for who's going to replace Aaron Banks. He'll at least compete. I'm not saying that he's taking his job over, but he was very good. And Dominic Pooney followed up his worst game as a 49er again, Green Bay, and he did so well in this game. Clean sheet. The highest offensive graded player, according to PFF. So I wanted to give some loves to the big boys up front, man. And I think those 3 guys really, really stood out to me, even though Jake Brendel had a very good game pass protecting, but they only had a few snaps like that or whatever. So again, that's why you got to watch the games. But those 3 guys stood out for me. So I'm going to use all of them as my second star.
Jason, I'm going to give you the offensive line. I would take it, but you watch the film quicker than I do, so you have a little more behind yours. I'm going to diversify our portfolio a little bit. I'm going to go POD just for the punt. That one punt. They're the one that bounced.
We got our franchise punter.
We got our franchise. They didn't have to use a top 5 round draft pick on him. They just found him, and he had a punt that, like, hey, again, like, not saying the game changes, but you're down 14-3. Your punter buries the Bills at the 3-yard line. Maybe your defense makes a stop and you play the field position game. You get back. Obviously, the defense allowed a 97-yard touchdown drive. Yeah, man, Pat O'Donnell, because we don't appreciate special teamers enough on this podcast. And when there's not much else to talk about in positivity for the 49ers, Pat O'Donnell's got my back.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, man, but, finding guys off the street who can make kicks, finding a guy off the street who's a far better punter, that, I don't want to beat a dead horse.
This podcast isn't anti-special teams. It's anti-using draft capital on special teams.
Unfortunately, when you look back at this draft class now, and we have to have a conversation about Jair Brown because he had an awful game in this game as well, too. That entire draft class is a miss.
You want to talk about a draft class? I have I'm not going to start it, but the 2024 first round pick is a little more puzzling every week, especially when you look at some of the names drafted behind him that the Niners could use at this point.
Yeah,
but neither here nor we're not talking disappointing draft picks.
But other than that, 2024's draft class has been great. But the
2020, fantastic, very, very good draft 2024. The
draft class with Jair Brown, Jake Moody, Cam Latu, Jalen Graham, D Winters. It's not good. It's whiff after whiff after whiff after whiff. Like, you've got nothing but whiffs in that draft class, unfortunately. And I fuck with Tig, man. I really do. Like, I really do. I want him to be so good. He's just not playing well, and he looked awful on Sunday. But number 1 star, Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason. Both of you guys, man, you looked incredible, man, in this game. Christian McCaffrey looked exactly how he was supposed to look. Jordan Mason, as soon as you get called up, this is exactly your game. Snow game, no cuts, just go. This is your move. Now both of them are on IR. So I guess that's just indicative of the 2024 season, where I say that my number one star is both those guys, and they're both on IR, and they're not going to play for the rest of the season, man. But that running the football was exactly what we expected the 49ers to be all season, one way or another. And it was crazy to see it for a glimpse and a few moments and to have it just completely taken away now. And that just sums up the 49ers season. But Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason, man, you guys did great. Honorable mention, real quick, Malik Collins was actually very good in this game as well, too, with the pressures that he got. One of the highest graded pass rushers in this game. So Malik Collins, shout out to you too, man. I want to highlight positive, say something positive is kind of what we're doing here with 3 stars at this point. But yeah, it's tough because Jordan Mason and Christian McCaffrey look great, man. They were just running the shit out of the football, and that's exactly what we wanted from them.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm just going to go Christian McCaffrey alone. I know Jordan Mason had a really good game, but he's gotten a lot of shine this season. It sucks that I got cut short, but those 7 carries, they as I said, they felt like who Christian McCaffrey was, and he was on pace for easily his. I mean, I don't have it exactly in front of me right now, but he might have been on pace to have more yards this game than the first 3 games combined. The explosion was there, the bounce was there, everything was there, and then it was gone. It was just gone, just like that, and that was it. But Christian McCaffrey, just for giving me the feeling that we were back enough for number 1 star, especially in a game like that. So there's the 3 stars. 49ers lose to the Bills 35-10, 5-7 on the season. The season, as I said on live support, not mathematically eliminated, but vibes-wise, the Niners are eliminated. Good news, the Chicago Bears are on the schedule. The bad news is Matt Eberflus no longer their head coach, so maybe the game gets a little weirder. We'll see. We got a week to break that one down. Dare I say, Jason, we got a whole week to be stressed about that one. Why don't we go enjoy some Monday Night Football? Go enjoy a PlayStation 5 that plays some old PlayStation music for a little bit.
Or all right, real quick. Let's keep it 49ers real quick because I do want to enjoy those things. The 49ers right now, organizationally, and I've said this, they have to look themselves in the mirror. And I think they did that at the trade deadline and said this team is not anywhere near what we need it to be. So that's not where we're going to add anything. I understand you're telling everybody, yeah, we have to win out. You have to audition people now because this entire roster is about to completely turn over and the names on the back are about to be different. And you have to figure out what everybody is. I don't want to see Devondre Campbell anymore. Play D. Winters, play Tatum Batum, play anyone who has a pulse at this point so you can figure out what you've got moving forward. I don't want to see Jay Brendel anymore. Play Zakel, bring up Nugent, anyone. At this point, I know you're trying to sell tickets. I know you're trying to sell dreams. I know you're trying to sell to the overly optimistic portion of this fan base that they're still in it. And technically you are, even if you're eliminated in my heart.
Yes.
But this roster is about to turn over. You're about to lose so many names. You've got to figure out who's a part of the problem and who's a part of the solution going into 2025. Run every single person out there. Get Jacob Cowing out there. See what he's got. Run everyone out there that you can at this point, that you can figure out what this team is going to look like going forward, who needs to be here, who doesn't need to be here, because anything other than that is you just lying to yourselves, lie to the public, lie to the ticket holders, lie to them. I get it. You need them to keep going. But everyone knows. If you look around, everyone else knows. If you look at these tickets for the 49ers, they're dropping. You know why? Because everyone knows. The tickets aren't $300 get in no more. You know why? Because everyone knows. So stop running out these veterans that are going to continue to make these mistakes. Let the rookies make mistakes. Let the second-year guys make mistakes because you have to figure out which of these guys is going to be a part of next year's problem, next year's solution, next year's issues. I know what everyone else is, and we kind of have a grasp on who's not going to be here. Mooney and Banks, we know, but we need to figure out what everyone else is, and what better time to do it when you still feel like you're considering yourself with a chance to win football games at 5-7. This team and this organization needs to look at themselves and say, we're not doing anything this year. We've got to evaluate everyone. This last 5 weeks, needs to be about evaluating who's going to be here and who is going to be a part of the solution next season. That's it, man.
And I perfect point. And Jason, I my only follow on that, because you're absolutely right. The Niners need to figure out what's going on. I think the Niners need a little bit of a organizational mindset shift, because I feel like the past few years, not the worst way to do it, but feels like the past few years, the Niners have been more focused on figuring out roster spots 1 through 15 and who the Niners need to really focus on roster spots 16 through 53. Because it's just what Jay Spence say, depth is good until you see what the depth is or whatever it was. This Niners team, I don't think it's much of a problem, but it is a problem that this team's too top heavy, and things shouldn't go this sideways with this. Obviously, the sheer amount of injuries are high, and there are a lot of high leverage spots. It's just at some point, man, like the shift needs to be focused on a little more attention to the not necessarily the Jimmy and Joes, but the X's and O's guys, the guys that you can fit in to make this team better. The names are going to be there. The Niners are going to have those names. Brandon Ayuk will be here. Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle will be here for sure. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. There's a lot of names that are going to still be here, but there's also names that aren't. I'm not going to name who. I think we can kind of figure it out at this point who isn't. It shouldn't be necessarily about a direct replacement. I think the Niners have been too focused on direct replacements when they lose a big name player. DeForest Buckner replaced by Javon Kinlaw. I guess to a lesser extent, drafting Ricky Pearsall with the thought of maybe Ayuk's gone. The Niners really, I think, they need to spend this offseason and focus on shoring up the roster as opposed to figuring out, hey, how do we get the best possible player on this team? It needs to be more spread out, because I think that's how this team ultimately takes the next step, is just slightly having more to the team, because it shouldn't be about the all pros. It shouldn't be the sheer, because we've been talking about, hey, Jason, did you know the Niners have 9 all pro players on their roster, and it hasn't resulted in a Super Bowl, right? And at some point, I think there needs to be a shift of, instead of 1 through 15, 16 through 53. Best 53 you can put together instead of the best starting lineup you can put together, I guess is the best way to say it. So this offseason, I know Niner fans get a little nervous with off seasons because of where the discourse goes on 49ers Twitter, but this offseason, it doesn't feel like that. This feels like it needs to be a get to work off season. It shouldn't be about the one player that can fix this team. It needs to be about the unit of players the 49ers can bring in to shore up this roster and make them a overall better team.
Yeah, look, the names on the
I put a lot there at the end of a podcast, so I apologize, Jason.
No. There's
a lot going on with this team.
The overturn on the roster and coaching staff is going to be crazy. You can't bring back a special teams coordinator. You can't bring back the defensive coordinator. You have to overhaul all this, and you're going into, again, Saleh, D'Amico, Wilkes, Sorensen, 4 straight years, 4 different guys. You're going to go into your 5th straight year of that, and defense and special teams. It's just, this team is going to look drastically different next year. And a lot of that has to do with how they're going to fill this out in the draft class. The draft class doesn't necessarily have to hit right away, but the draft class has to inject some energy, speed, and it has to replace people that you are going to lose. And that's what last year's draft class did so well in the secondary, because now Mooney Ward's probably not going to be here. And now you've got Lenore and Green, and you feel good about that, and Malik, and now you got to figure out, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough moving forward how this is going to go. But I do want to say this, and this is probably the best way to end it. Trent, my heart is broken for you, man. I don't really care about football at this point. Forget the whole tanking thing. Trent, if you want to take the whole season off, I can't imagine what it's like to lose twins, in a birth. Things are bigger than football. You and Mooney have dealt with something that I'll never be able to deal with in my entire life, or I hope that I haven't, and I just can't imagine how to deal with. But just get better, man. Don't worry about playing football at this point, man. At this point, just take the rest of the year off. I wouldn't blame you at all.
Yep. It's an unfortunate thing. Niners now have deal with twice, and just it's life, and just it's unfortunate. Our thoughts go to Trent Williams and obviously Charvarius Ward for continued support. Obviously not the news you want to wake up to or see, but obviously Trent, we're thinking about you, and take your time. It's been a hell of a career. If it happens to be it, things are much bigger than football as well, because it wasn't like Trent was a for sure 2025 anyways. So if this is something that pushes him towards it, then we understand, obviously, and just to take care of you, Trent. It's been fantastic with you as a member of the 49ers, and take care of you. Hopefully we see you back in 2025, but take all the time you need. Nobody should have to go through that. And you could tell too, Kyle Shanahan was really affected by it today too. So it's a tough time for Niner fans for more reason than one. And I think it's good to keep perspective on it. So Jason, we'll wrap up with that. We'll get out of here. We'll be back Friday. Niners Bears preview. Looking forward to a fun one on that one, because Niners Bears doesn't feel like a marquee matchup at this point, but it could be semi-entertaining.
If anyone knows a Bears content creator, please send them our way. I think that's what's going to make the rest of these games fun down the stretch, is to be able to just like do these preview episodes with somebody else. So if anyone knows a Bears content creator who's not a nut job, because I remember that first. Remember where Trey Lance started? We had that one guy who was like calling in every single day or whatever, and like just being a complete like insane person. No, if you have a sane Bears content creator who wants to talk about the Bears and Niners, please send them our way. Maybe we'll set it up.
Maybe they can answer the question that I've had all week, or at least since the Bears announced Eberflus is out and their interim's in. Do you lose the new coach bounce if you already used him for the new offensive coordinator bounce? Because it's an interesting sequence that he goes from, what was he, the QB receivers coach, to interim offensive coordinator to interim head coach in the span of a month? So do you lose that bump that he's already used it as the OC? So those are the questions that'll get answered on Friday for this all-important Niners Bears breakdown. Some are saying the game of the century. So many implications for Niners Bears. I can't wait, Jason, to break it down, and I sure as hell can tell you it'll be the best 3 hours of my weekend. Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys. Please don't let this team stress you out and put you in a bad mood.
We'll be back Friday with a fun episode. We'll do our best. We'll get a Bears content creator. Have fun. As always, go Niners.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.